I lost her at a really early age, to early onset Alzheimer's. And that was, it was a, complete reversal of the parent-child relationship. And I remember one day I walked into the living room because I was basically taking care of her, and I found her reading a book upside down. And that was, that was a big clue that she had that impulse still to read, but the marks on the page were not translating into, thoughts for her. And it was actually that experience. Well, I would never want to repeat it. I think it gave me some insight into how to write certain sections of Lady Codebreaker. I never thought that I would enjoy being surrounded by stacks of history books and and learning the basics of code breaking. But I fell in love with it. Fell in love with American history and wanting to bring some of these people back alive. I literally, it almost it intimidated me to the point where I almost said, I don't think I can write this book. But there are tricks to code breaking. You're looking for patterns in letters and words. And one of the simplest ways to put something in code is to just do what's called a basic shift cipher, where you say you spell out the alphabet from A to Z, and then you shift it over by one letter. So now your alphabet starts with B, it goes all the way to Z, but it ends with A. And so that is pretty much the simplest way to put something in code, or just to substitute. You have 26 letters in the alphabet. You could use numbers from 1 to 26. Manual for the Solution of Military Ciphers. And I ordered a copy of that, and it was helpful. It gives you a little bit of the history. It gives you a little bit of techniques and types of codes. There's something called a pig pen cipher, and all kinds of things. And I got to the point where I thought, okay, I don't need to become an expert, but I do need to be able to show the process of these characters encoding or decrypting on the page. And it's about as interesting as watching grass grow to watch a code breaker break code. So that was a real challenge of this book, was to get them out from behind a desk, nerds with pencils, and really show Elizabeth, or Grace, in action. And so I threw her aboard a Coast Guard cutter, and I had a lot of fun with that. So once I got her on the ship, I was able to show the reader Rum Row, which essentially was, a long line of smuggling ships that would sit 3 miles exactly offshore, because the Coast Guard couldn't do anything to them as long as they were 3 miles offshore. And then they had various tricks. They would send out a boat, that had nothing but empty wooden cases of, or empty bottles on it. And the Coast Guard would go and chase. They called it belling the cat. And then once the Coast Guard cutter was distracted, then all these smuggling vessels could come up and they could unload from the Rum Row ships and head back to shore, with all these cases of rum and whiskey and rye and, all kinds of things. It was an NPR podcast interview for A Mother's Promise. Lady Codebreaker, I first encountered Elizabeth Smith Friedman, who's the true life character behind mine, on PBS special called The Codebreaker, and was just blown away by this 5'3" tiny dynamo who was an English major. She wasn't a math major. She wasn't, she just happened to find herself in very unusual circumstances, um, and threw herself into code breaking. And I was actually terrified of that aspect of the book because I'm not a math person. um, I I had no idea what code breaking was all about, and I had read Kate Quinn's The Rose Code, which is a brilliant book. But I had to put it in a room across the house so that I wouldn't inadvertently, pick up any of it. So I ordered a lot of books, and the most useful one for me at my level was actually a young adult book on code breaking by Simon Singh. And it really presented things in a way that I could understand, basically. And I hope that I've gotten it right in the book.